This video is brought to you by Sun King Discs. Go to sunkingdiscs.com for a full selection of disc golf merchandise from all the major brands. What's up, guys? Welcome to my review of the Black Zombie Disc Golf Shotgun. Big thank you to Sun King Discs for sponsoring this video, sending me these beautiful discs to test and review. I appreciate their continued support. Go to sunkingdiscs.com to check out the website, or just head down to the description. You'll find a link right to these shotguns, and you can click to the homepage from there and check out all the other great plastic that they have available. So let's take a look at these. Got two different ones here, same plastic blend, more or less. I believe this plastic blend is known as Toxic. It is a premium plastic, and these both have some flecks of black in them, which means that they are some degree of hemp plastic as well, which I think is pretty cool. I really like this particular one. I like the way this kind of speckly plastic looks. They're both 180, so they're both like max weight, mid-range weight. And here is a look at the stamp. Pretty cool. It is a little bit hard to see all the detail because of how iridescent it is on camera, but up close you can see that there's actually chains kind of mimicking rifling in the inside of this shotgun. You also have the little skull as the bead sight on the shotgun as well. Baskets in the background, you got some chain texturing and stuff, and all in all I really like the artwork. I think it's pretty cool. Here's a little closer look at this one. I'm going to put this one aside. They don't feel much different. This one maybe a little bit less grippy and a little bit more firm. This one has a touch more flexibility, a touch more grip to it. And other than that, though, we didn't really see much in the way of differences between either of these in terms of how they fly. So let's put this red one aside and focus on this one here. So another quick look at the stamp and the artwork here, and you can take a look at the flight numbers, which are 5, 5, 0, and 2. I would say those are pretty spot on. Maybe the 5 for glide is a touch generous, but that's always going to be a little bit subjective. I feel like glide is probably arguably the most subjective number in the flight rating system. It's kind of hard to say. Most mid-ranges are speed 5, and it seems like the vast majority of them are glide 5 as well. Taking a look at the bottom here, again, you can see those speckles in this hemp toxic plastic, 180 grams marked in the weight there. These, if you're not familiar, are molded by Gateway, so they have the traditional kind of Gateway markings on the underside here. Since 1994, GatewayDiscSports.com, all that good stuff is molded in. And this is a beaded mid-range. It's got a pretty chunky rim to it, as you can see there. A little bit blocky, and it's got that pretty pronounced bead to it. So in that way, it's kind of got that little bit of an old school rock type vibe. And with that in mind, let's put it up next to a couple other options, including this KC Pro Rock. Stay tuned, I'm going to be reviewing this KC Pro Rock as well. It's one of those discs that was one of the first mid-ranges I ever threw, and is an absolute classic and something that I think should be added to the playlist, so it's gonna be on there relatively soon once I finish it up. And there it is next to the rock. So you can see the rock has that little bit of scooped out edge there, and this outer rim protrudes out a little bit farther, making the bead a little bit more defined. This one, the bead kind of slopes right into that rim in a little bit different way for sure. The rock has more dome to it as well, no doubt about that. It's a pretty domey KC rock. This thing just has a very slight dome to it, mostly flat, honestly. And another disc that has similar flight numbers, which is the Mint Discs Bobcat. Let's put it up next to that. And I would say these are relatively similar in terms of the way they fly. Bobcat probably a touch more overstable, I would say, for sure, but not hugely so. A little bit more of a flat top feel than the shotgun, mostly because of the way the shoulder kind of rounds out, makes it feel a little bit more domey in the hand. That's a couple other things to check out next to it, as I like to do. Let's take another look at this thing by itself. So the plastic is actually not super grippy. If you lick your thumb, and it'll dig in a little bit more. I wonder if this is the kind of plastic that would add some grip to it as time goes on. I think that red one I showed you earlier is a little bit more grippy than this particular one, but it's not a huge deal. It's not a deal breaker. We had no trouble throwing and releasing this thing the way we want to, but it's definitely a little bit slick. just not super tacky in terms of the way it feels. I wonder if I just washed it really good with hot water and soap, if that would help, because sometimes that really does, if you guys are not familiar. Sometimes, depending on the manufacturer, a disc will just kind of show up with some like oils or some surface substance on there, and if you wash it with hot water and soap, sometimes the grip will increase dramatically, I've noticed in the past. But yeah, I think this red one, I feel feels a little bit better in my hand, a little bit more give under the thumb. It's always going to take you guys getting it in your hands to tell whether or not you're going to dig it, but for us, we found it be maybe a little bit blocky in the hand overall, and maybe not the grippiest plastic in the world. So, let's talk about the flight of this thing. Relatively close to the numbers, I would say. It flies pretty true to the flight numbers. I could definitely see it being a 4 for glide, but again, glide number, kind of subjective based on who you are and your perspective on things, so it's really not that big of a deal. Definitely a very solid point-and-shoot disc, not terribly dissimilar to that KC Pro Rock in terms of flight. Maybe a tick faster, but similar stability where it will hold that line really strong. Probably a little bit more stable than that KC Rock as well, now that I've thrown that rock a little bit and broken it in just a little. I think this plastic will definitely be more durable than KC Pro plastic and take longer to break in. But fresh off the shelf, as we tested them, they hold the line really nice, and they're overall a pretty straight flying disc, low on natural turn for sure, but not an aggressively fading disc. I think the 2 is pretty much perfect because it will fade, it'll hold the hyzer nice and strong. It doesn't have hardly any natural turn or flip up to it at all. Maybe just a hair of flip up. A couple of the shots Andy throws have a left to right wind, and you'll see it kind of push gentle to the right. That's why. I'll try to mark that on the video so you guys know, but that was definitely what was happening with those particular clips. But for the most part, they were pretty point and shoot. I would consider these to be straight stable. They're not overstable, they're not understable, pretty much neutral with a little bit more of an overstable overall vibe to it. Definitely not flippy by any means. Very low natural turn, holds hyzer really nice. Throw it nice and flat, it'll fly super straight all the way, which is always a nice attribute for a disc. And you can still pull it over on anhyzer and get it to fly left to right as well, but it will kind of fight against that a little bit, making it more of a soft left to right if you're looking for that. If you wanted to get harder to the right, obviously you want to go with a much more understable disc than this. All in all, a solid disc, point and shoot, kind of a workhorse mid-range that I think a lot of players could dig and find a use for. Throw it nice and flat and on varying angles, and you're going to know what it's going to do. It's a very consistent flyer that we had really no trouble kind of dialing in and getting a feel for. My only real criticism, again, is that maybe the plastic isn't the best in terms of feel. It's a little bit slippery in terms of my perspective compared to some of the other like really high quality premium plastics on the market at this point. But all in all, they feel fine, they fly solid. That is my review on the Black Zombie Disc Golf Shotgun. Big thank you once again to Sun King Discs for sponsoring this video. Check the link in the description below to go check out Sun King's website. They've got a bunch of great plastic on there, and I appreciate their support. I appreciate all of you guys for watching. If you like the videos, please hit that subscribe button to stay tuned for future uploads. And also a big shout out to the Disc Golf Nerd Patreon support team for their continued support. I will talk to you guys very soon. Thanks for watching. Cheers. Thank you so much for watching, and big thank you to all of my Patreon supporters. If you would like to see your name listed in the credits of all of my videos, go to patreon.com/discgolfnerd.